When I first moved abroad, something interesting happened. People knew me before knowing me. You know what I mean? Like they would imitate my hand gestures and my accent. They would assume my personality traits and habits based on my nationality, and they would ask me about mafia. So welcome. This is We Are Here Too, a podcast about mental health and moving abroad. My name is Francesca, an Italian counsellor in Scotland, and I'm your host. And as you may have guessed, today we're going to talk about cultural identity as a foreigner. Defining one's identity is a constant job, right? Like we try and find a balance between what we visually understand as, yes, this is me, and what other people think of us. And it ain't easy. Like sometimes we let in too much of what other people think about us, and it's very difficult then to find a sense of who we are, because we are in a constant state of tension. And when we move to another country, we have to add that extra layer of what people think of our nationality before even meeting us. And I have so many memories of, you know, as an Italian, I'm very well aware that my nationality is in the good books of almost everyone else's nationality, right? Like, and there are worst stereotypes about people. So I'm very well aware that I land just because I was born in Italy in the right category of migrant, right? Like, and I'm doing this like in inverted commas, but I'm also aware that, you know, like I got it easy and some people don't have it easy, and there are so many layers of stereotypizing and discriminate that are attached to someone's identity. That can be very impeding for someone's success in that specific country if they decide to move there. And so we have to learn how to negotiate these interjections that come from a mainstream understanding of our identity based on stereotypes and history. And this can cause like a fair amount of tension and anxiety. And I would say as well, like a lot of pressure to find a direction and to find a way to identify ourselves within the new environment, not only within ourselves. We can talk about mental health from many different angles, but when it's about migration, the first thing that comes to mind is loss of identity. And I suppose we need to create some space for it as well. Some of the things that may happen and the reasons why we may feel like our identity is not matching anymore and we're going through this crisis is because most likely there are discrepancies between expectations and reality. So maybe when you planned to move to this other country, you were expecting to have, you know, a better salaried job, better housing conditions, a better work-life balance, maybe better weather. In the new country, you may also experience different forms of discrimination and racism, which can make it hard to feel integrated and can really make you feel like a second-class citizen. And maybe you were not experiencing that in your country of origin, not at least in those areas that you are in the new country. You may have a tinier or absent support network, so your sense of belonging is really compromised. There is no support, government support that is culturally adequate. There is a complete upside down of anything that feels familiar. So colloquialisms and dialects are not part of your everyday anymore. You do not identify with the attitudes and values of your country, of your new country, and whatever felt familiar before, so like tastes and smells and way of doing things and being around people. Maybe you moved from collectivistic society to an individualistic one, or from very sociable society to one that it's not so much, and not at least in the ways that your society was. That can be quite challenging, and that can really affect your sense of identity, because you're not recognizing yourself in them anymore, and you don't have any other reference points in the country where you're at. And so what do you do? How do you make sense of it? And all of this can cause us to feel distressed, incredibly unsettled when you have absolutely no points of reference. It can be really hard then to decide what direction to take, because you cannot even see the paths in front of you, and you don't feel like the environment you're in is supportive of it. You may feel incredibly nostalgic and disillusioned by what's going on, and experiencing a lot of stress in relation to your efforts to adapt to this new reality. The real question now is, how do we cope with this? How do we move forward? We are in this new country. We realize that things are not going as planned, and we just feel very directionless. There are different ways we can cope with this, and they all depends on what's your connection to the new country and how much of a difference there is, right? Like, we can either decide to assimilate part of the new culture, and part of the new culture is understanding of who we are. We can accommodate some of those and live alongside them, or we can just reject it altogether and move on to other countries or back to our home country. Regardless of what options you decide to go for, and sometimes that comes very naturally, rather than us thinking about like, oh, am I assimilating this concept of what it means to be an Italian in Scotland? It's more about like, like this is like clashing with my sense of self, or hey, this is actually, let's see what's more is there. And that process can be facilitated by different actions that we can take. So I think I will call this part of the podcast actions you can take to work through your identity crisis as a foreigner. Yeah, I think that would work. Action number 1, it's about like looking inside yourself. There are many self-help books out there that you can consult, or you can also like decide to go and speak to someone like myself who works cross-culturally and with people who speak different languages and understand what it means to actually move abroad and live the life as a foreigner, and live the life on the outside. Action number 2 is find a group of people who are going through your same struggles. In that way, you will feel like more connected, less lonely, and you will have a chance to actually touch base with people about like, hey, is that happening to you too? I'm going through this massive identity crisis. I don't know who I am. I don't know if I want to stay here. I don't know if I like it here. And you'll soon realize that actually that's a question that many people ask themselves when they live abroad. Action number 3 is find what grounds you. It's a time where everything is up in the air. So think of what your anchors are. Is it making a phone call home? Speaking to a close friend? Invite someone over for a cup of tea? Is it making a walk in the park? Is it making sure that at the end of each day you have your teeth brushed and your face washed? It could be anything that will give you a sense of stability at a times where it feels like there is only chaos. Here we are again at the end of another episode. If you are liking my content and you would like to support me, you can join me on social media. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook. You can subscribe to the podcast. You can give me a follow, or you can leave a review. Reviews are everything, okay, in the podcast world. So, or you can also message me and email me at the address that you can find in the description. So thank you for listening, and I shall see you next time. Bye.